Yes, good evening. Good evening. Arawana Busia, and you so yada Yamia CBM. So I may Konya na Yasan Shia Ewo, yeah, financial program, no. Debiano is always a blessing, sir. Yet to me, Ebba has said, na Nimdia Yame Adiamai, no, so yet to me, Yatia for a share. Na yɛtie fo nso ase like every week bia no in fact sɛ wowie na wokɔ back na sɛ wohwɛ ayi video no na wohwɛ like the number of views ne nipa dodoɔ a comment ne adeɛ a I mean it's really inspiring meaning sɛ dwumadie no yɛtie fo no taa akyire na ɛnyɛ sɛ ɔmo taa akyire nko a deɛ yɛka ho asɛm no biara nso no yɛde yɛ adwuma that's the most important thing no sɛ deɛ yɛtie no ɛnyɛ sɛ yɛtie no kwa but yɛtie na yɛde ayɛ adwuma nti yɛda mo ase ɛna ti anwummerɛ nso yɛbɛfa saa kwanya nso na yɛama pani Isaac Bell ko nso yɛbɛma wɔ Akwaaba for anwummerɛ program ne pani Dr. Prince Awua nso no yɛda wase anwummerɛ biem sɛ every day every week biara no when your time now we spend it with us. So no. It's just to get straight into it, the last few weeks you can budget, can want some into details, the no but we have to transition into a different topic. And the reason behind that, and it's in penny for a Emma, yes, set up your budget. You set a budget new year, and right now, no, some expenses be a year, no, you chamu, who where our money is going to. Who some of the expenses in a view, who say, I deal with a as a busia, into boa, near streamline this annual money. In the course of doing that, no, who say, Sisia, who is sick yehu ye sika ekọ ye wie no now ne yehu se fedie sika no kra na fedie bi kakra broso inti kakra na broso no what do we do with it? Is this something now no fedie let me go and buy another pair of shoes and I said let me go and buy maybe another car and I said what do we do with that money no inti you transition into say now no sa sika kakra na yehu say eba no what we need to do is we need to set some aside as an emergency fund ebetumi aboa for the future until last week yabobo nyoma bisu say ebetumi aba say car repairs how do you repair your car when it breaks down if you don't have the emergency fund there's no way to do that. And yes, I about so will fear some of those minor repairs are also will fear and little things to do with even our kids or more daycare. This annual money now, local hospital will co-pay near the any no. I said yet to me and yabi. These are some of the things you can once empty. I'll give a penny Belcon at least to introduce yourself to your TF1 and no or more 8 no now at least your takeaway from the last week program you can share with us now to us.
All right. Yebema a TF1 Akwaaba bio yebesa banyamia sen so say was a chayankwa and this DBA I'll keep saying that every time you be opportunity nyambecha yankwane aba platform you so education people pay a lot of money for it consultation sometimes you are charged by the hour and this 1 hour and penny for me and some busy sometimes at 9 one so mo jadi abetana no senka the rate based on ABA school and Yamia Boami Alcorn experience be charge for Ibian go be intimintia. But Yamia don't be any free anti moment taking it seriously. Na affiliate last week also no yɛka sɛ nyame boa na sɛ unexpectedly sɛ sika bi a wɔne nna so ɛhyɛ ase beba na sɛ ma ho ha wa kae sɛ wowɔ goal bi si w'anim ebi a wowɔ retirement bi like ebi a wopɛ sɛ wowɔ some goal bi about your retirement like wobɛtumi apushi no wɔ hɔ ama nneɔma atumi akɔ n'anim tɛntɛm ebi a debt bi a ɛtete wo koraa no sometimes go ebi a wobɛtumi de afa hɔ na kyerɛ sɛ ho aha wo ɛna savings for emergency yɛ ka ho 70 sɛ sika bi ba na sɛ oni nna so na sɛ so ho hyɛ sɛ hen ha wa ɛnhyɛ sɛ jubilate mfa nkodi ice cream sɛbe but try sɛ over divert no to other goals and sɛ de yɛka discipline asɛm no discipline no sambre no wo ho betimi like betimi tighten no ho even when you don't have to but once you do it in the future when you are in retirement and I say bia if you know kona nim kakra no wo say oh say eye pa say mitimi share me ho so make these financial decisions and kakra me come from last week and no.
All right, Penny Edawase. And before I ever call Dr. Uasono, yasan ama yatiefo na akwaba biem na yasan aka de bia ye can say the program where you interest and more and it's more questions about into the more questions it helps us into a bio how question be opasa will be not necessarily about today's program but in the past BBBI be a war question over to me afra 240 280 2633 240 280 2633 and now bet me send information so through WhatsApp 510 931 0946 510 931 0946 into the more questions I'm on the web and Doug, yeah, I know, sir, your friend is when it comes into investment savings, this is in your arena where something that's your daily bread. And what is your take? So you can emergency fund now. What is your take on emergency fund as we transition into short-term and long-term goals?
Yeah, boss. Thank you very much for the question. As the the name goes, emergency fund, right, is designed for emergency situations, right? Because we all know that in life, nobody can prevent when an emergency is going to happen, right? It's just by nature it's going to happen. The question is, when it happens, are you going to be ready to face that difficulty, right? For example, you lose your job, right? If you lose your job, oftentimes, these days might be a little bit easier, but, on average, it takes maybe 3 to 6 months to find your ideal job that you want, right? So now the question is, if you don't have any savings or emergency savings behind you, and you now lose your job, no money is coming in, but yet every single month, your same bills are coming in. What do you think is going to happen to you and your family, right? Could you potentially lose your home because you can't afford to pay the mortgage? Of course, right? Could you now pay for your basic, groceries and all those things? Maybe not. So when you have an emergency account set up, it is very different from your savings account, right? Emergency account, I often advise that put the money even away from the bank or put it away from a bank that you have to actually drive very far to get to. Because why? It's money that you only touch in an absolute emergency, right? And your savings account is money you can go in and out on a monthly or daily basis, right? So you have to always separate the two things, because if you don't, you're going to always not have enough. Because why? You are now using your emergency account as your saving or checking account. It's not the same thing. They are very separate things. That's emergency account or 36 months can go into a money market account. And even with that, I have a strategy where I even separate out that that emergency account, and I break it down. For example, if you have 6 months of your expenses, you may not need to put the entire amount in a money market account, because why? In a money market account, you're not really getting any real growth on that money, right? So maybe if you have 6 months, you could put maybe 3 months of that money in an emergency account where it's in a money market account. But maybe for the next 2 months, you could put into maybe, let's say, like a municipal fund, right? Where you can get some level of interest on that money. And maybe for the last 1 month, you could maybe put that maybe in a diversified, let's say, investment account where you get even more interest, right? But so, I mean, like I said, I don't want to get too complicated, but like I said, there's so many different ways to set up an emergency account. But the key things to understand is that you need to have an emergency account, because at the end of the day, none of us know when an emergency is going to happen. And in my experience, when you have an emergency account in place, you are less likely to face emergencies.
Mm-hmm.
Because why? The universe knows you're prepared for it, right? So those of us that are not prepared for it, have you ever realized that folks that don't have money always have money issues? Right? Because even rich folks, when they have it, they can afford it. Because why? They don't stress about it. But folks who don't have money, they more have what? Have more trouble, have more problems, have more emergencies, right? Because the universe knows you're not prepared for it. So your answer is get prepared, have that money in place so that you can have a peace of mind, knowing that God forbid something happens, you are fully prepared to stand the course for you and your family. So
yeah, thank you so much, Doug, for taking the time to break it down to us. And I'm saying one of the things last week you can was for emergency fund. Now, pretty much you can about some of the things that we use the emergency fund for, and the things that we don't use emergency fund for. It's week will be the sensitive set up emergency fund no na your friends ma Macy's na mako hu atade bia your friends say what do I do is that let me say atade na wo kwa akoto no, is that an emergency? Is this something without atade no you cannot live? And also, yeah, so atade dem wo ram say yeah, okay, so why answer o question no awie. Into yet for your sign MMO acquire baby and baby UT and free say YouTube online or Facebook on your kwaba. But emergency fund, like can one seminar, sika or citing aside for, as the name goes, emergency purposes. Into technically, me car break it down. I need to go to work. I need to fix that car. How do I do it? Where do I get money to do it? The whole goal is us not falling back on credit cards, but being able to pay for some of these expenses, cash. Into what's satisfied and aside. Last week, I can want some penny back on boy in my say normally I say do 6 months. However, no, your recommendation is do it as long as you can, because a Chrome how unfortunately you never know when ube lose wajuma, and if you lose wajuma, how long is it going to take you? A bit dear to me take it 3 months, a bit to me take it 6 months. I have seen people that will go for years. Yes, almost said to say 6 months, but our recommendation is do it as long as you can.
That's right.
You never know what will happen along
the
line near there.
That's right.
Your tear for Nina, so a bushing for you so a more to until now. No, you say you who must set up emergency fund. No, I know. Now, so no, I also need to save for other things in life. For example, your plan is maybe you better your friend is saying another house, or you better a fee. Maybe not now, but 5 years along the line. Or not only that, maybe maybe say next year, it be your co-vacation be our baby. So what do I do? Do I rely on my credit card to finance this project, or what do I do? And see, and you remember, your short-term savings, any our long-term savings. Into penny back penny Dr. Wa. Mom to break it down for us. You can't short-term savings. What is short-term savings, and what do we really save for in a short-term basis?
So here's the thing, right? Because whenever finance is a topic that is not one size shoe fit everybody, right? To me, a short term can mean something different than maybe to you, right? So to me, a 3 to 6 months, right, can be considered as what? Short term emergency, right? That's why whenever I sit with people, right, I always advise them, you want to have a short term, a mid-term, and long-term accounts, right? Your long-term accounts is your 10 plus years account, where your retirement, you're saving for what? Your retirement years, right? 10 plus years. That's your long-term. Your mid-term account is maybe your 2 to 5 year game plan. Hey, in 2 to 5 years, me and my wife want to buy a house, right? In 2 to 5 years, we want to buy maybe a rental home. In 2 to 5 years, maybe we want to buy a dream car, something like that, right? So that's a 2 to 5 year game plan. Now, your short-term plan can be maybe 0 to 1 year or 0 to 3 months. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in that scenario, at each level, it gives you a buffer away from what? Touching your retirement account, which is going to cost you a lot of what? Penalty and what? Taxes, right? So the short term, some people use the emergency account to consider it what? As a short-term account. But to me, you also want to separate your emergency account from your short-term account, right? Because the emergency account is an account that you know that you will not touch onto an absolute emergency. So maybe you can have an account where you put maybe a 3-month account, right? Hey, look, man, this here is for my maybe I'm planning a trip for the next month or two. I want to maybe save some money here, right? So the key idea is don't get too consumed in the months of the year of the plan. Be more focused on what is the account designed for, right? So once you understand what the account is designed for, you now know how to approach it and what to do. So like a lot of times we get so confused because depending on what advisor you talk to, they might tell you, oh, maybe 25 days is considered a short-term account. Somebody tell you maybe 2 months. So don't get too consumed in the months. Be more consumed in the objective of the money. The emergency account, hey, this is my 3 to 6 month to 1 year account where I want to make sure, and no matter what happens in the economy, if I lose my job, at least for 3 to 6 months or maybe a year, me and my family are going to be fine and we will not stress out. Right? That's your emergency account. And that one goes into an account where you kind of just even forget about it. Because the idea is to touch it only in what? In the face of emergency. Maybe the short term, maybe can be, you know what? In 1 year, I want to go put a down payment down to go buy a particular thing, right? So maybe that could be considered what? Your short-term account. So like I said, from person to person, that could differ, right? I don't want us to kind of get too zoned in on the time constraint, but more so on the objective of what you're trying to accomplish, right? So, and also that's why money that's considered either a emergency or short-term should not be invested in the market, because of the volatility in the market. Does that make sense? I hope I was able, because I don't want to go too deep into it, but the key thing is just to understand that you want to have an emergency account, you want to have a short-term, a mid-term, and a long-term.
Yeah.
Right? So that when you know this money, so when you get paid, I know I can put my money into different buckets. So that when I know my objective, hey, 25 years account is here. And that account, I want to put in maybe $100 a month. Because I want to go buy this thing here. So in that 2 to 5 year period, hey, that account is there. You take the money, you buy what you want to buy. Right? My 10-year account is my long-term retirement account. That one I know I won't touch it until I retire. So 10 plus years, that account is there. I'm putting money towards that. Right? My short-term account, maybe 3 months account. You know what? Maybe in 3 months, I want to travel somewhere. I want to maybe save for that. Right? So maybe when I get paid monthly, some of the money goes towards that account. So it's really person-to-person preferences or person-to-person objective and what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doc. This is very insightful. And so, one of the things, what kind, we need maybe to like repeat, to our listeners, and say we always need to separate our emergency fund from the short term and also the midterm and the long term way. You know, say not me ma your friend is like an example of a question will be beside me your friend said this way because many a times the open one is will be at time sika is meant for like an emergency not your time near they call like a vacation or your time near the year baby but at the end of the on say what is the end goal? What is your financial goal? Dear Nesu and so. But I see when so nature how so to divide some of these things, na your friend is how to go. A question about say how do we divide this small income into all those accounts?
Sure.
Last week, we had the exact similar question. So the question that came said, look at like income or it's not even enough. So how do I set up my budget? You set up like an emergency fund, and three, put some aside, for how do we do all this? And Doc, before
sure.
Penny if you can help us on that's
So that's why I mentioned that finance is a person by person discussion, right? I cannot make a blanket statement. All I'm doing is I'm giving generalized advice, right? So when you sit down with your financial professional, right, they might be able to see your situation and see how you can go about doing that, right? Maybe at this stage of your life, you may not maybe have the financial means to be able to set up all the different accounts, right? But sometimes too, it's not the massive. Maybe $25 per month, $25 per account will do the trick, right? Maybe that's why it's so important that you do a budget, because the budget is going to show you how much money you have left over, right? So to me, think about it. A lot of times, people think, oh, retirement, saving for the future is very, very important. But if you don't have an emergency account in place, if something emergency happens, I guarantee you're going to go put the money from your retirement account, which is going to cause you more problems, right? So to me, oftentimes, if you don't have an emergency account, I put a much more important precedence on that account to at least start that and maybe get it to a certain point before you move over to the retirement account, right? So it depends on how much money per month you have left over. That could now be divided into different buckets. Now, also the question is, how serious are you about making financial changes that will allow you to have enough money to do what you need to do? Because at the end of the day, I can educate you all I want to. I can show you the plan. But if you're not willing to do the work to be able to create or free up money in your budget, it's never going to happen. You can't say, okay, I make a little bit of money, fine. But when we sit down and look at your budget, you spend $150 on cable. You see what I'm saying? So it's really what's important to you, right? You and I may not have the same thing that's important to us. But at the end of the day, you now have to figure out, okay, if I show you a game plan, the question is, how committed are you to actually doing what's necessary to be able to achieve that game plan? If you cannot do the 4 accounts, hey, maybe you can do 2 accounts. Maybe you can do the emergency account. Maybe you could do your retirement account, right? If you want to travel in 3 months, my question is, how important, how serious are you, or how important is your travel money compared to saving for an emergency account, right? So you have to really figure out what's important to you and which one for now, you think is important, right? And maybe as time goes, you can maybe add the other accounts to it. Just because I mentioned 4 accounts, it doesn't mean that right away start 4 accounts, right? It's also going to be dependent on your affordability and how much you can put into each account. Right. Maybe 1 account you might want to start with. And then as you build it up, you go to 2. Everything is a step-by-step process. And you don't copy what somebody else is doing. You do what fits your budget the best. And as time goes, you can always improve on it.
All right, thank you. say a penny it's about discipline. Yeah, and see penny what's your take? Number one, no, the question now of floor right now. Say how do we divide this small income now into those accounts? And so last week, it looks a similar question by Emma Obuaye. What's your take on the question? And two, who we are, then you share your view on the short-term savings. Your friends, you're discussing right now.
All right. Last week, there was a man being our presentation, and the question was said, if you are not able to pay tithes on $1,000, how will you be able to pay tithes when you start earning $2 million? It's going to be impossible. So now the principle here is the attitude to be able to save, like having the attitude that I need to put some money aside. It doesn't really matter how much. And when you're making $100, now says $20 at Toho. Now say manager. And I've been saying that for the most part, how much somebody was making before when you pay raise and also when you a different job they pay the course or no, that person was still able to manage with a smaller income. And maybe this once you have the attitude and the discipline to save, it doesn't matter how much. And I think that a lot of work can be said or try to be save, based on like omo plan omo save, ayana omo ntanya issues, omo ntanya emergencies. All kana just like say in a classroom, some professor and I say yeah, teacher him some bit me answer no. Time phone call so because they know say yeah they are
very true.
I something about nature, even for Christians, in our relationship with God, when we have done our best is when God also asks us to it. Lazy. So we are required to, put in the effort of trying to at least save something into the attitude in the here. So once you are getting 100, you are saving 10, 15, 20. And also, but based on your efforts, most likely, our principle in the emergency be a crowd. But if you craving now with the kakra when your income, rises, then when you have discipline, attitude not ready. So it's not going to be hard for you to save big money. So to that question, the attitude and the discipline is what is most important, not about how much you are saving. Number two, there is an overriding principle, very important. The foundation of Sanimaya. When you like to save for different purposes, now emergencies, you say you can short term near the day. Say short term, or say long term, or say emergency, say for BBL. If you like to save, I think Dr. One mentioned maybe about trying to save at a place, maybe at a bank, you'll have to drive far away. And I was thinking through is that for now, maybe it's not maybe a best, but it's be electronic. So you can just jump onto your phone, grab the account, and even spend it while you are in your room. And it goes back to the issue of discipline. And one, it's still key for you to be able to, save at a place quite far away. So the bear but the mitigating is you can still do it on your phone. But on top of that, try when you initiate savings now, don't get a checkbook, don't get a debit card. Because at least I never I've disciplined myself enough not to take a debit card or a checkbook. So now you are putting some effort, you are working towards it. It is a balance and as a temptation be a bar. So cast animal corana, a warm out to stay away. So good. On top of that, we need to make sure say Sikana, yeah, they took our account to them for emergency, for short term, for BBR. It doesn't pass through us before it gets there. Why am I saying that? There's a temptation, or I said there's the temptation for you to spend it when it gets through your regular account. If you are an employee, would your salary, would your wages every 2 weeks, every month? If you're able to log into your portal and make adjustments, and I say, I'll talk to your HR, give them our account number. No, say, well, to me, yeah, say, may make an allotment to this account. It is how no say pay, net pay no bar. $500 now do 2 baby, $1,000, $2,000 now do 2 baby, It doesn't land in your personal account before you take it, or maybe before you transfer it. As soon as it lands in your personal account, Abiana and Rihanna and Kwan Gudru. So you make sure say you divert it straight to there. And sometimes I was say banner why you got me free so before you realize and I was I build it up na kakraka I was no any aje by hono still also sure okay, and quickly onto the short term, I think that only Dr. Work in but my member Kakrabin count. Short term, no said not Dr. Work, a relative, but normally, you classify short term as maybe a year or less. Normally, and a long term, so even in business, the far ABR more than 1 year.
Sure.
Now, me person me relating it to short term, normal person you're spending on. I'll call those things like things that are more capital in nature.
Yeah.
More capital in nature, in the sense that normal and value, it be a bit me actually more for the most part. Because if you are spending a whole lot of money on something, that thing should be durable. And I say be like I would say be like a better. And on the average, short term, maybe a normal in the short term, might be normal very expensive. It be a bit more using the short term. Sometimes, some of them could go longer. It's short term, need say, I need money to buy a computer. I need money to buy a tablet. I need to buy a lawnmower. I need to buy never one shot on your dancer. And if you're scanning new say cash and as I say liquidity in here immediately. You try in your budget and now for the what the ABR 30, 50. It's work a crack. I do say be 3 months. Now say a bar no offer. Now they are cut. But a new man a year in the very long term, I think that Dr. Wa talked about retirement. Any other and no be a year, you need quite a lot of money to be able to undertake that activity. It takes longer to gather some amount of money. And the planning is very important. And our discipline is very important. And so I just wanted to add that to it quickly.
Yes. There was a part for your friends and the insights and all this your friends information wash in terms of emergency fund, your short-term savings, and no say even to nipa a question about is my small income, how do I divide it up? And you rightly said it. Say one thing about us, Africans or Ghanaians, per se, is sometimes we don't value money. And to say a cast of savings, we are thinking about me save like $1,000 maybe a month or $2,000 a month. Forgetting even if it's $1 krana, this is something why discipline was setting aside. Let's do $1 a day. 7 days, $7 a week, and I will save. Into the month, and I say $28 dollars na your friends will save. But sikan keten say we don't value it. But bear in mind say in keten sana and na build it. Into you give yourself maybe a year, 2 years. The next thing you know, I build it up. And so nothing is too small when it comes to savings. why your budget na wie one who says see am ye no $50 na aka bosumi bia, you can break it up. Maybe 25 is going to my emergency fund, and another your friend is 10 is going to me save it towards me vacation. Another 5 is so breaking it up, it helps. There's another question we can look at now. Say, is it advisable then to save money whilst your credit is messing up? I mean, start paying for your credit card or your bills and saving up. Into your question at that floor right now, financial doctors, Obia can jump in and help with a question or say, is it advisable then to save money whilst your credit is messing up? I mean, start paying for your credit card or your bills.
Sure. I mean, here's the thing, right? There is, I keep saying this thing. There is no one size shoe that fits everybody, right? But also in finance, it's very, very multifaceted. There's different moving parts, right? Because think about it, at the end of the day, if you don't have savings, you have a lot of debt and your credit is not good now. What can you really do? At the end of the day, in order to improve your credit, you need to start paying off some of your debts. But you also don't want to put all your money towards your debt and there's no emergency fund, right? So if you say, hey, my credit is not good, but I also don't have enough money saved now. We always go back to that budget. You set up a budget, say, hey, every single month, maybe all I can free up is $150. Hey, of the $150, I'm going to put maybe $50 in my emergency account and maybe $50 towards my debt, or until I'm able to pay off my debt, or until I'm able to make more money. So there's never either or one only, right? You have to work your plan simultaneously. You work on this while you're working on this, right? Because as you're paying your debt down, or as you're paying down the interest of your debt, you are also now improving your credit score. Because if you have a goal to go buy a house in the next, let's say, 2 to 5 years, but your credit is bad, right? How do you suppose you're going to improve your credit? Just by saving, right? One way is you can save for a year and then maybe use some of that money to pay off a lot of the debt, or you can continue to save money while at the same time also paying down your debt. So I want people to kind of take an idea of, oh, you know what? I don't make enough money. If what you want to do is important enough to you, or is very important to you, you're going to make the sacrifice to be able to make it happen, right? Discipline is so important when it comes to your money, right? So although when you figure out how much money you're able to save per month after all your expenses, then guess what? You can put some in your emergency account. You can put some to pay off down your debt, or you can put some in your retirement account, depending on how much you have left over, right? So don't ever feel so stressed out. Well, what do I need to do? Just know that you can always do everything at the same time, because paying down the debt is very important. It's just as important as saving for emergency, right? Because guess what? If you don't have an emergency happens, you're going to go into even deeper debt, right? What you're going to do, you're going to take the same credit card you've been paying down and go swipe it again to pay off that emergency. Now you're back into debt and your credit score is going down even more, right? So you see how it goes hand in hand, right? Because if you have an emergency account, an emergency happened, you have the money there, so it prevents you from using the credit card to go into more debt, right? Or so if you have bad credit and then no savings, you are now in even a worse situation. So you always want to fight the battle two hands at the same time, right? Your savings to build your emergency account, and you're also paying down your debt at the same time, right? So that's what I want to add to that.
Yeah, Doc, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sir, and to add a little bit to what you just said, sir, and that's the reason throughout our discussion we started with like the budget. Okay, so one of the reasons in here, maybe one, I have so much debt, is because of, sir, I don't have a budget.
Yeah.
So I'm overspending. One of the reasons is maybe my credit card, my credit right now is messed up, and is because one, I'm not disciplined, and two, I don't have a budget.
Yeah.
Internet, you started with a premise, and it's as an individual and as a family, we need to have a budget.
Mm-hmm.
The budget, we are listing all our income, we are listing all the expenses, including the credit cards na ebanina. Na yehu say, sisi a kamedina ni sika ebani. So how do I set myself up? I'll be able to that small income na menya no make to me etutu sa kanina. Into one of the reasons, but I ain't setting up the budget is to help you to come out of that credit card debt issues. Now your credit profile is being messed up. That's one of the reasons into for your friends the budgets now. Nyamia boa ya set your friends budgets who says excess income na eba no. Very important to say men falling into the old habit of falling back on my credit card and until your advice is then set up like an emergency fund before to say every month to be and whatever you can put it aside. Send your bet say make break it down. I don't go back on the credit card again. But at least I have something to pay Sadia or cash. Or I have a plan, sir, next year, dear, a coin beer, so na 7 bushing your vacation. And now, sir, I have a house, my plumbing issues. I go to the doctor, I have to pay this co-pay. I don't have that. Some your man may set it aside. It's helping me now, move me away from depending on my credit and now relying more on cash. We are helping each other by setting up the budget and using the budget tool to help you get out of credit issues abano. The idea say because I'm saving for emergency, I'm saving for my short-term vacation. I'll stop paying my bills. No, that's not the idea. No. But the question back, I mean, maybe said, if I'm drowning in credit card debt, do you think this is the right time for me to plan about vacation? Maybe no. Maybe I need to focus on getting, because sometimes, if you don't even do that, I'll go vacation, but I'll go because on your vacation, you can credit card campus in April. It messes up your mood and everything about vacation I work on them. But if we spend a little, to try and get rid of plan a year, it also helps. I hope question about nipa based on the responses na bani na obetumi aboa na watumi streamline in terms of how to find a plan for the future. Now, Doc, what a short-term savings are and some of the things that we can plan for in terms of short-term, like your bosso vacation. Yeah, bosso, if you're I want to buy a second home, I want to buy a new car, I want to save for the down payment. Any idea? And you said something very important. In fact, if you have down payment on a house, a lot of us we want to buy houses. Into the question, they said this is not something that you just get into it and hoping the bank will finance 100% for you. No, one can so then the bank wants you to feel like responsible. And it's not something like overnight I can get $10,000-$15,000. So it's something that you said earlier on, we need to plan for some of these things. Me individual, me ankasa, ma set the goal woman so me ne me yere ya set goal we and so say in 5 years we want to buy a house. If in 5 years we want to buy a house and we want to have like $20,000, we spread it out for the 5 years. And I say, meaning say every year beyond we need to be able to save 4,000. If every year we need to save 4,000, we break it down on a monthly basis. Now, ya plan towards what a short term. Now, Doug, can you help us in terms of the long term? I want to be able to do like a long term savings, something that in the next maybe a year or 5 years, I don't even like need it like right now. So what are some of the things that I can use the long-term savings for? And how do I even start?
Yeah, that's why I mentioned that the long-term savings, right? In my mind, when I hear long-term savings, I'm thinking about retirement, right? Hey, within the next maybe 10, 15, 20 years, I want to be able to retire and become financially independent. That to me is long-term, right? But I consider maybe 2 to 5 years as a midterm account, right? As Brother Berkman said, right? Anything 1 year or below can be considered a short term, right? So like now that midterm, I'm thinking maybe 2 to 5 years. Hey, you know what? In 2 years, like you said, I want to go buy my first home. I have a client right now, right? Her goal is that in 2 years, she want to have enough money saved to be able to go buy her first house. So we're going over her game plan. Okay, how much money do you want to have in that account? When you for down payment, right? How's your credit and so forth. I said, well, you know what? I want to be able to put down at least 5 to 10% of what the house is going to be worth. Well, depending on how much the house is going to cost you, how much. If the house is $500,000, then hey, 10% is what? $50,000. Now the question is, how much per month do I need to save to be able to reach $50,000 in 2 years, right? If you say, I want to put down 5%, right, on the 500,000, that's what 25,000, right? So to me, it's really all about what your goals are and what you're trying to achieve. If it's for down payment for a house, and the amount of money you want to now have in that 2-year period, you now just divide it by 24 months. And that will help you to figure out on a monthly basis how much money I need to put in that account. Now, also be mindful that this is your 2-year game plan account. So in knowing that, you don't want to commingle that money with your day-to-day savings account. That money should go in a completely separate account.
Mm-hmm.
So that you don't feel tempted to go now take your money out when it starts to grow. You see what I'm saying? So the key thing is to, number one, know what you're trying to save that money for. And number two, figure out the exact amount and then how much you need to save on a monthly basis to be able to achieve that account. Like I said, once again, I'm a fan of, money market accounts for the time, for that period when that, hey, in that 2 years, I never want the money to go down. Guaranteed, I want to see some kind of where the money is there or a little bit more. So you can put in a money market account or like maybe a separate savings account that's away from your regular savings account, right? Or maybe you can put in a very, very conservative, maybe a municipal fund, right? Where you're getting, some level of guaranteed interest. So, there's really different ways you can approach it, right? But the key is, once again, is objective. If it's, hey, a down payment for a house, then you know what you got to do. Hey, you know what? I want to go buy, a big ticket item. Maybe it costs me maybe $3,000, but I want to buy it I want to save money within a year to be able to go buy it. Then guess what? You want to go buy the big ticket item to use an asset, right? So you begin to now save that money. So if it's going to take you a year, then per month how much I need to save to be able to achieve that goal. Everything in finance boils down to discipline and planning. Everything. It boils down to planning, and being disciplined in what you need to do or what you want to do to achieve that goal, right? So just know in mind, hey, in 1 year, I want to go buy this. Okay, you know what? I want to save money in an account away from my regular checking or savings account. In 2 years, I want to go buy my home. I need a down payment of, let's say, 20,000. I need to create an account specifically for that account, for that purpose, right? In 15 years, I want to retire. Well, I need a retirement account specifically for that. So when you have accounts specific for certain things, it gives you clarity, and it further enhances your discipline to be able to achieve it. Because if you don't have no plan in your head, oh, I want to have $1,000. Okay, when do you want to have the $1,000? If you don't have no plan, you're never going to achieve it, right? So that's what I want to say.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, friend, is at the end of the day, you know, what the goal is, having like a financial goal. You have a goal in mind and you work towards that goal.
Yes.
And unfortunately, one of the things I have, friend, is come to discover about Ghanaians, and it's we don't plan for like future when it comes into like retirement. You know, and we are hoping that just things will take care of themselves when we get to the like the retirement age, you know. And I think so last year we spent a lot of time discussing about investment and the different options of investment and the idea. And yeah, kind of short-term, mid-term, and long-term, you know. One of the long-term way, there be a catcher, you know, young coffee and say, yes, Chrome has said, if you plan to retire here and you don't plan well, it's you'll be miserable.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll be miserable. I always tell people, because once you hit that retirement age, you know, you are retired, your house is not paid off. NASA still, no, you are paying mortgage. And if you have to depend just on your Social Security, and we don't even know if Social Security is going to be around by the time we retire, how do you continue to live the kind of life we're living right now when you get to that age? One of the long-term way I tell people, and it's if you are fortunate enough to be employed by an organization or more 401k or 403b savings plans in the idea, this is a good opportunity for you to set something aside through 401k and or 403b in the idea. And Penny Belko can say certain you know, accounts in the app where the deduction is taken out from your payroll straight into this account. You don't see it, so you don't even feel it. Same way, you'll be surprised to know, sir, once you set up this 401k, 403b in the idea, now you find is every paycheck they are taking out maybe like 5%, whatever amount that you can contribute towards. No more tier. You'll be amazed to see, say, you don't even feel it because it's taken before taxes. Until at the end of it, you know, also a win-win situation. Money is being set aside for you. You also have maybe an organization that will match for you. And last time you can say getting your free money from your organization. The idea. These are some of the things we can plan for as we plan long term in terms of like our retirement. You know, if you feel said now I'm unable to set something, we can use that opportunity, you know, also to help set up like long term for your retirement.
Yeah.
Dog, do you have anything else to share as our closing even once it comes into the savings emergency fund, our short-term savings, our mid-term savings, long-term savings?
You know, I think we've spent a lot of time, you know, breaking those things down and explaining to the people about how those things work. I would highly advise people to go back. If you missed something in this video, you know, go back and rewatch it, you know, once it's posted. And also, you know, once you rewatch it, write down questions so that when next time we come back again by the grace of God, you'll be able to ask those questions. As always, this show is not going to do what it needs to do if people are not asking questions. Because we can come here and talk all day, but if you're not asking questions, you are not helping yourself, right? Because the more you ask, the more you understand. And then lastly, I had a lady that I spoke to today, right? The lady is living in Texas, right? And at the age of 47, she's a nurse, and she don't have a retirement account in place. 47 years old. Now think about all the years that she's missed out on that matching. Her job matches 6% of her money.
Oh wow!
Think about how much money she's been doing nursing for over 20 years. Don't have a retirement account. So when we have these calls and these meetings here, I want people to understand how serious and how important this information is, because it is literally a matter of having a peaceful retirement or not having a retirement at all, and on working until you die. Right? So if you come on here just to come and listen, is this part of your schedule, let me come and listen without actually taking notes or applying what we are teaching you, you are really doing yourself a huge disservice, because the information that we're giving you guys for free, but it's not free, right? Because it's going to cost you something if you don't apply it. You know, a lot of times when you give things for free, people don't cherish it.
Yeah.
Right? But they don't know the value of what you're giving to them until they really begin to feel the pain of not having a financial game plan in place, or not applying that information. So before, I hope that they share which me I apply to your life.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doug, for your closing, your friend's statement. No, yet for so you munya daje na money edi dwuma we na so no yesan Adamu asibiem for more time, more commitment to Era One Radio. Sir, all the different programs are so a war radio sumunya adaje na moba na money ebedisa adwumade we no. In fact, ya shafi asi no nyame ehra bebre ya hu. We hear the testimonies, and say, ye mu bebre no nsamo ayet no ye de ye adwuma. We are making the changes, ewo ye bremo, and that's what this program is intended to do. Sir, as Dr. Uwa said, you listen, you examine your lifestyle and see, sir, what are some of the areas that I can make changes. And once you do the changes, God will help you to be able to do the things that you want to do for yourself and your family. Nyame enshira say nwumere so wonya adaje na wone ye ebe ye. Until said next week in ebesan ahia bie mo no. Nyame enka mo.
Okay, God bless.
All right, thank you.
Bye.